Hi everybody, it's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace and welcome to my kitchen. I wanted to talk about a principle or an idea, sort of a theory or, I don't know, just an invitation really, instead of an actual exercise like I often suggest. I do suggest exercises that have frequently to do with holding still or catching the moment, writing in your journal for 60 seconds, laying on the floor if you need to, stop, drop, and roll. You know, it always makes me laugh, like that emergency preparedness if your clothes catch on fire. Drop down, that you're going to kind of interrupt that fast impulse to grab something, or the way we will just put things in our mouths, speedy quick. You know, it just pops right in, not even really thinking about it. Next thing you know, you're eating, or you have the urge to eat, or half the bag or all the bag is gone. All right, so there's sort of that unconscious, speedy, quick way of being with the mind, and these different variations you can do to kind of interrupt that or stop it or slow it down or see what else is going on. Related to all this is behind it an idea that we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid something, or else we wouldn't be going so quick. And I'm suggesting to you today that often we think, what is wrong with us? Why would we want to avoid anything in this moment? Like, why can't I just sit still and be that way? And I've talked a lot about that critical voice too, that is very intense and rather violent and mean and, the rudest voice you can ever imagine at yourself. Kind of a dictator, very judgmental. But stepping out of that whole thing and that cycle, what's going on that I want to suggest today that might help? And that is that this cycle wouldn't be there unless for some very important reason, and it's called fear. Fear, because it's not that comfortable to hold still. There is pain in the process. If you are compulsively doing anything, and this could be eating, drinking, smoking, longing for a relationship. I mean, relationships themselves can be addictive, sort of codependent. We all know what that's like to be in a love-hate, less than supportive relationship. And that's what we're talking about when it comes to food and eating, this dynamic of having a body and being in one, taking care of it or not. Something very painful is happening. And if you slow down, if you, move without that quick, fast pace of like the train racing at 120 miles per hour, you're going to see pain. Pain is the first stop. The first depot at the station is the pain stop. And we don't want to do it. Often it's some kind of history or memory or experience from childhood or idea or the glaring loudspeaker of a thought that says, you're wrong, there's something wrong with you, or there's something missing. There's something missing about the present moment. There's something terrible about the present moment. You're going to die. I know it can feel really dramatic, but it is difficult. I mean, if you've got this addictive process going on, most of us know what that feels like, whether it's thinking or a story or longing for somebody or longing for food, then it's hard to kind of abort that process or even just slow it down and stop it and see what's going on. And what I guess I wanted to say today is it's worth it. It's so worth it. You might be amazed at even how uncomfortable it feels, and yet you will survive. It's not as bad as you think. There may be something incredibly important wanting to be expressed through you, and it might even be something from the long, distant past. It really helps to look at your childhood experiences and then every single thing you've ever learned along the way that's been painful, that leads you to think that avoiding that pain by eating is the better choice. Avoiding that pain is actually going to make it more painful in the end. It's going to build. It never just stays the same constantly. It might kind of feel like that, but it will get worse. At least that's what my experience was like. It was like as time went by and I binge ate or was graze eating or kind of clinging or feeling so needy and insecure, that just got bigger. It gets worse. It doesn't, I don't know, it gets psychically worse. It's like internally worse. The thoughts and the voices that say this is never going to end and something is really seriously wrong with you become louder. And sometimes people even feel all the way to the way I did, like committing suicide. Like, I can't stand this anymore. I'd rather be dead. I didn't have like a lot of plans about how I would end my life, but I felt all the time like I'd rather be dead than go through this hell, this hellish cycle, this eating, this concern, endlessly back at the same train station all the time, but the voice is getting worse. So that thought today, just that it might feel like you can't make it, you can't get through it, it's going to be impossible if you slow down. Maybe write today, when you're not in the middle of a binge and it's not, super heavy and intense, just write a journal entry, consider, think, sit quietly for 5 minutes, and you could wonder, what's so scary about this? What's the worst that could happen? You're going to be so stressed out, you're going to have a heart attack and just collapse. Well, the other way is pretty bad too, the way of living in an addictive process. So I'm inviting us all, I invite myself to slow down and go ahead and be willing to sit with that pain. There is sort of a bump of pain. It is difficult. Maybe not even just a bump, but something that feels like an explosion of pain if you haven't looked for a long time. There's difficult things, in life, facing life, that you believe. Eckhart Tolle talks about it as the pain body, and that we're holding on to it. It just kind of like moves with us in our lives based on painful memories. One thing that I found that's been incredibly helpful off and on since the beginning of my recovery path, out of this addictive cycle of eating, is to get with other people. When I couldn't sit still by myself and I thought I was going to die of the pain of, anxiety about this whole process, slowing down enough and not eating, I was in a group therapy. I was in 12-step meetings. I was connecting with friends in a really honest, deep way. People who supported a movement out of an addictive process, out of codependency, out of love-hate relationship, and who just wanted to hold and support remaining clear and steady, even if a huge storm and tornado is going on the inside. So if you can't do it by yourself and you find that you've been struggling for a long time, get with someone else. Get a partner. Get a therapist. Get a counselor, a spiritual advisor. Come work with me. Come to an eating peace retreat. You have to sit still. You're going to sit still during meals. We slow down and sit together with the food on our plates that you get to choose what meals you want to do. Everyone goes out and gets their own food. You bring it back, and I move us through a slow experience of eating for every meal during 3 days. Some people think, my God, if she doesn't speed up or if this doesn't change, I'm going to die. By the 3rd day, you're so grateful. At least I am myself too. You realize that it's not the end of the world. You can make it. You're going to get enough to eat. The worst thing that you ever thought was going to happen doesn't. And it's just a spectacular sensation of peace to know that you can do this slowly, this relationship to food and eating, and still be completely fine and make it. A lot of us in our daily lives don't ever get to do that. Things are just moving too quick. It's too hard. So I hope you'll get to experiment with this, slow down, be willing to face some pain. You can do it. I know you can. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.